Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of AppStack. My name is Amanda Nelson. I'm Director of Community Marketing at AppExchange, and today we're going to be talking about two AppStacks full of apps that our customers are using and that are really excited to be talking about today. Our great host of the day is Geraldine Gray, and so she's going to be running it. Before I get there, I do want to just touch on All in the Stack. So the way that this webinar really started was that we built a tool called All in the Stack. You can access it at allinthestack.com, where you can go in and select the apps that you use and share that on Twitter. And the idea is to let customers know the types of apps you're using or your dream stack. And so when we launched this, lots of folks started building their stacks and sharing them. And then Geraldine and I sat down and said, hey, wouldn't it be a great idea to have a webinar where we can actually talk to the folks behind the stacks, talk to the folks that are building and using these technologies. And so that's where we are today. So if you would like to build your own app stack and be featured in a future webinar, go to allinthestack.com, tweet your stack, and you could be featured. So now we will move on to Geraldine and the great customers we have today. Hi, Geraldine. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Amanda. How are you? I'm all good, thank you. So thank you so much for hosting today. Oh, there's Amanda. There we go. There's our smiling faces. So
there we go. I'm sorry. I meant to show my other slides.
No worries. Thank you so much for having us today for the All in the Stack and the AppStack session. This is a really fun, quick, fast and furious discussion about how customers use real apps to solve real-world problems. This is a free-flowing discussion. We're not super rehearsed. So you're going to hear what it's like and how other people solve problems in their businesses, and this similar to the way that you might have problems or you might need to solve for. So the first shout out I have today, so we're going to try and do maybe talk about 20, 25 apps today. The first shout out we have today is for Jitterbit. So we've been working with Jitterbit at one of our customers, and I thought that this would be a really interesting app for people to learn about. It allows you to set up integration, bidirectional integration within days, maybe even like 2 weeks at the most, not weeks and weeks and months. You can connect to AWS, you connect to SAP, you can connect to Microsoft, you can connect to NetSuite, which is one of our favorites. You can connect to some ancient industry AS400s and ancient industry green screens that we're also using it for. And what's really nice about Jitterbit is that it is quick, it's versatile, it connects to just about any machine, so you don't have to have a brand new massive server. You don't have to have it connected to anything special. So it's very robust. It's written in Java, so developers love it because it's quick and easy for them to get up to speed with. And then the team that we've been working with at Jitterbit are just so nice. They're very responsive, they're very customer focused, they give great support. When we've been stuck and had questions, they were very quick to answer us. And then their sales team, particularly the chaps that we've been working with here in Texas, are really nice, and they know exactly how to do what's right by their customers. So it's been a very different customer experience. So shout out and big thumbs up to Jitterbit. So thank you, Jitterbit. And let me introduce you to our customer trailblazers that we're going to be talking to today. So we have Liz Cow. Liz, say hello.
Hello.
Perfect. And Shannon. Shannon, say hello.
Hi.
Hey, Shannon. Okay, so Liz and Shannon, I'm going to ask you both to introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about your Salesforce background and how long you've been using the platform. So Liz, why don't you go first?
Okay. Well, I've been a user since 2001, for those of you that might remember the old green and yellow days. And I actually got exposed to Salesforce while at Salesforce, having been in inside sales, consulting, marketing, and those experiences and working with other internal teams has allowed me to also work in IT organizations that are supporting those groups. And I'm most proud of being one of the original members of the AppExchange team, which makes this a great honor to be a guest on this webinar. And it's really great to see how the ecosystem has grown and how everybody's supporting each other. Currently, I recently joined as the head of product at Full Circle Insights, and our products help marketing and sales teams work together better by providing visibility into marketing campaign ROI and other related marketing funnel metrics. We're an ISV on the AppExchange, excuse me, and it's been great to be on the solution making side of the AppExchange house after having been a consumer for so long.
Perfect. Thank you, Liz. Shannon, tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been using the platform.
Hi, I'm Shannon. I have been a business analyst supporting and implementing SaaS software for over 20 years. I was at a software company and I was a power user of the CRM. So our company switched to Salesforce in 2010, which is when my journey began, and I was on the migration team. When the project was over, 6 months end to end to implement, they said, you know, do you want a new job doing Salesforce full time? And like I always do, I said yes. And I said, you know, I'll figure it out. And so that's what started my Salesforce journey. I am now a co-leader for the Cleveland Administrator Group. And I have left that software company that I was at for almost 20 years. And now I work for a nonprofit where I've got to once again build the implementation from the ground up. So that's been a fun and challenging last year for me.
Wow, that's a very exciting time. So Shannon, you're going to be sharing your stack with us in a little bit. But first, we're going to talk to Liz. And Liz, let's take a look at your stack. Remind me again, Liz, how long have you been working with Salesforce?
Oh my gosh, since 2001.
2001. And come on, tell us what people may not know about you, but I know. If you don't say it, I'm going to say it. Go on.
A little while back, I got involved with Salesforce for Dummies and am currently the author for that. So yeah, back in the day when that was all people had to learn about Salesforce.
That was pre-Trailblazer, pre the online community, pre everything else. You were there writing Salesforce for Dummies. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Well, I still actually have my copy, so I'm going to have to ask you if you're going to sign it.
Yay! Absolutely.
So, I really do. Some things you have to hold on to. You just can't get rid of them. You're like, man,
Exactly.
this is a legacy item. I need to keep it. So, okay. Tell me a little bit about your stack. So I think what's interesting here is that this is like your greatest hits, right? So this is, if you are building an organization from scratch, these would be your most favorite apps that you think every company should have. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about how you came up with this idea and how they would work together to solve real business problems?
Yeah, so these are the ones that I've come across throughout my various work with different companies. And generally the context here is that these are apps that work with global sales organizations. They're usually experiencing some sort of growth, and along with that comes growing pains. They're usually selling some sort of a subscription or SaaS product. And they're in the tech industry, either before they're going public, right after they're going public. And I call that out because there may not necessarily be a lot of regulatory requirements versus some of the industries that the listeners might be in. It can be the wild, wild west. And potentially there's new management brought in and everybody's just trying to create or refine or redefine business processes because of growth, the old way of doing things is breaking.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I can talk about the first one that comes to mind.
Yes.
Okay, well, often if you are a new sysadmin that is going into a company, you are inheriting an org. And in that context, I wanted to point out Field Trip from the perspective of an IT or sysadmin person. You're inheriting an org, and there's what I call field bloat. So there might be a bunch of fields that sort of sound the same, but no one can really explain how they're different and who uses them. And it's just easier just to create another field that sort of sounds the same again. That's not the best practice. Maybe people have decided not to bother with those by just let me hide it from the layout. But really, those fields still appear, let's say, when you're trying to build a report. And it really becomes frustrating for a new generation of employees that are trying to be productive, but what's the difference between fields A1, and A2. They're all the same. And so this is where Field Trip comes in, and it actually lets you run reports on fields on an object, and it shows you, it'll come up with the percentage of records in which that field has something populated in it. And you can use a filter to narrow it down so that in case you have like 100,000 account records, you can still narrow it down, and it might say, oh, this field's called key accounts, and it's only been filled out in 1% of your records. Or it might say, this other field is called named account, and it's filled out 37% of the time. And that just gives you a lot more information quickly. And you look at that report, you can isolate the fields that really maybe you should start a plan to deprecate those. You can look at those with your ops partners and have a conversation and keep things a little bit clean, because it can get unwieldy pretty quickly. So yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. I think it would be nice to point out that Field Trip is free.
Indeed.
So if your budget is $0 and you have $0 to spend, but you have time, then this is a great place to start. Okay, so please, sorry, carry on with your next one.
Yeah, so the next one, and just talking about holistically working with various groups along the revenue chain, I did want to talk about partnering with legal, and that's where the little Aptus square comes in. And in a way, in terms of the context, Aptus has a few products. I'm talking specifically about CLM, or specifically Contract Lifecycle Management. And what that does, Contract Lifecycle Management allows processes related to legal contracts to be managed entirely in Salesforce. Legal departments, the ones that I've dealt with, they tend to be pretty lean as well. They're an internal service organization, and they're not just focused on sales orders all the time. They're working with the procurement people, business development groups, or other partnerships of marketing. There's a ton of marketing contracts that go out there. And at some point, again, the emails back and forth with the attachments and storing things on hard drives or shared drives, it just doesn't become efficient anymore. And that's where a CLM does come in. And so Aptus helps with those processes, including things like redlining documents, the back and forth that goes with that, reviewing contracts. There's boilerplate with various types of contracts and various sections within a contract template that could be reused, and storing that in a library so that everyone in legal has the latest copy of things, and they're not having to ask each other for the latest version. And the other thing is too, if you have some pretty granular processes, depending on which contract you're talking about, then you need a tool that can help automate all that. And the other outcome, I think, of using a CLM and with Aptus, we found is that it's helpful with compliance and audit issues. I know it's not the sexiest topic, but it makes those folks happy, and we want to keep those folks happy. The contracts, the versions, those things are all in one place. There's an audit trail. And really the copies of the documents, they don't go missing if someone leaves the company. And another interesting thing I noticed is the finance and accounting people, they can perform analysis now on companies that might be both customers and vendors. Let's say if you're buying things from IBM, but also selling things to them as well, and somehow those numbers folks want to run some financial analysis on that. So that's interacting with legal.
Okay, perfect. So I can use Field Trip to uncover what fields are being used when, and whether things are ready for deprecation due to field bloat. I can use Aptus to help manage the contract lifecycle management system, which would mean that I can do my redlining back and forth out of a library or a selection of assets that I've already got in my Aptus library to manage all of my contracts. And then tell me a little bit about Zora, because I don't think we've spoken to Zora. We've spoken about Zora on this app. So tell us what it does and how you've seen companies use it successfully.
Right. So again, following the value chain, this is where one might be working with a finance or a billing team. And what Zora does is it automates billing and renewals of subscription-based products. And it ties into other financial systems. And for example, if a company sells a subscription product, whether it's using salespeople or self-service application, Zora can figure out all the complex calculations around various terms and changes to terms, like if you're upgrading or downgrading, and it does take that burden off of someone in finance or like a deal desk, and it gets those numbers accurate. And so what I found is that for billing folks, there's certain aspects like bill runs or month-end close that can become more efficient. I know that's some like finance and accounting talk there. And it allows more billing and payment flexibility for customers. So it doesn't always have to be just annual contracts. You could play around with semi-annual, you could offer quarterly ones. And it helps just generate those calculations, because you don't want the salesperson to have to calculate that. And then IT and sales ops don't have to try to build it, because you're dealing with dollars and cents and all of that. One thing I do want to mention about both of these apps I just mentioned, they're definitely not plug and play. You should have some consistent business processes in place, or if you're not, because you've got growing pains, there should definitely be a team in place where you've got the subject matter experts or the champions or the sponsors to really help with that business process optimization.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. They're both tools that you can pick up off the AppExchange and do some proof of concepts with, but ultimately they have to match your business processes in order to have some real success.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks, Liz. So I will be coming back to you with a question. I'm going to ask you later on, so you have some time to think about it. If you can have any app, free or paid or invented, if you can build your own app, what would that be? And I'm going to come back to you right just for the end of the webinar and give you some time to think about that.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Shannon?
Yes.
Okay. So Shannon, tell me how to pronounce your last name, because I'm going to get it wrong.
Zdanowicz.
Zdanowicz. There we go. Okay. So Shannon, tell us a little bit about the role that you're currently doing, because we don't get a lot of nonprofit representations on this webinar. So I'm really interested to learn about what it is that you're doing. And then let's take a look at your stack and walk through some of the use cases, because your use cases for solving business problems from AppExchange apps is very different to what we've had on before. So I'm really interested to hear more about it.
So at ASM, they brought me in for my Salesforce knowledge, but I always say my strongest skill is really that I'm a business analyst. So, just analyzing the problem and designing a solution, in this case using Salesforce, which is what I've been doing since really 2010. ASM is a nonprofit. We're a membership association. We connect people in the same industry. And one of the biggest things we do is we have education events, over 90 education events for our members and non-members throughout the year. And Member Nation, which is from Fontiva, is an easy way to just create those events and publish them out so that our members or potential members can register and pay. So it's all done through the community. The e-commerce from Fontiva is right in the community, and they can register, sign up, and pay for the event. That's probably the largest thing that's out there in our outreach.
Okay. So I can be a member, I can be a mentor, I can be a volunteer. All of that is managed through Fontiva membership, just different flavors of the same thing. I can register for an event through Fontiva events, and that will tie into my campaigns with Salesforce. And then I can also pay for my membership if I'm going to be a paid up member using the Fontiva platform as well.
Yes, and the Fontiva platform does a really good job with the membership. So they have this join process that you can configure to meet the needs of your organization. And it allows you to publish a join process that will walk the member through like a wizard and lets them pick their membership. So we have multiple membership types. And then once I pick my membership, I can pick my add-ons. So for ASM, that's affiliates. I can join one or multiple affiliates, and then I can pay for that membership right there on the Salesforce community.
Brilliant. Okay. So now then, you have a different use case for Conga from other use cases we've talked about before. So tell us, please, how you're using Conga and what you've been working on recently with that solution set.
We're really excited about this Conga solution. We have over 80 chapters globally in our organization, and when a member joins, they're automatically assigned to a chapter based on their location, their country, and their postal code. We have an obligation to the leadership of those chapters. Those are some of our volunteers, and so we try to service them as much as we can, but we have a need to do it automated, and we have to publish a roster to them on a regular basis. It shows them their new members, members that are maybe lapsed in membership in the last 90 days, and they'll help us get them back into recruiting, to get them to rejoin and renew their membership. And it also shows any changes to their current members as far as address or company. And so with Conga, we're able to produce this roster in a prettier format than a normal just Salesforce Excel spreadsheet type report. So it's a nice, pretty PDF format. And then that's where we use the composer. And we're in the development process of this. So we've only done proof of concept, but we're confident we're going to have it done shortly. And then our plan is to bring on Conga Conductor, which will allow us to schedule the delivery of that report on a recurring basis and post it to the chatter group for that chapter. So we're really excited about it and happy to get this one done.
Okay, so instead of somebody having to make the report in Salesforce, export it to Excel, format it, make it look good, and send it out on a group email, you're able to create your report in Salesforce, use Conga to generate a good-looking document that you can then automatically disseminate to all of those members.
Correct.
Okay, how much time do you think this is going to save that poor BA from having to do all of those Excel files?
I have no idea what the hours are, but I know we have over 80 chapters, and right now we're delivering rosters weekly. So imagine going in and running a report, 80 reports, and posting it to 80 separate chatter groups every week. I'm sure there's a lot of minutes involved.
Yeah, I don't need to imagine that. That sounds quite hellacious. Thank you very much. Okay, let me ask you about own backup, because I think we may have touched on it on a previous webinar, but we haven't heard about them for a long time. So tell me what it is that you're doing with own backup, because I think you also have a slightly different use case from how many people use it. So tell us how that works.
So one of the big things about living in managed package world, I was in a standard Salesforce instance before. So in the last year, having a managed package be my core functionality is a new world for me. And the ability to seed sandboxes is very different. You can't just do spin up a sandbox and be ready to go, because most of the managed package data is not metadata, it's actual data in tables. And you need that for the product to be operational. So using own backup, we've been able to create these sandboxes and then do a backup and tag it, so that next time we need to spin up a new sandbox, we create the sandbox and then quickly just do a restore from that tagged backup, and we're ready to go. That allows us to really just follow best practices as far as develop in a developer's box, then deploy to staging, and then pre-prod, and then prod. And without that, I think we would lose a ton of productivity without the own backup tool. So it's really been exciting for us to have this in our playbook.
Excellent. So it's not just a backup tool, it's also a tool that you're able to use to seed all of that data into different environments, right, so that you're got two legs up, not just one leg up when you start working on it.
I can't say that I don't just love all the regular functionality too. Just the other day, somebody made a change to our theme and took down one of our major pieces of functionality. And in about 5 minutes, I was in own backup. I got the old copy, did a compare, and had us back up and running. So it's really a great tool, and they have a great price point for nonprofits. So I really can't just promote them enough. I think they're fabulous.
Actually, that's worth pointing out that Conga does a nonprofit pricing as well. So thank you for that.
They do. It's really good pricing. I love being a nonprofit.
I think they love you too. Okay, so my question, keep this in your mind for a few minutes. My question is going to be, if you could have any app free or paid or out of your imagination, what would that be? And thank you, Shannon, for your insights. I'm going to jump back over to Liz with exactly that same question. Liz, what did you come up with?
Okay, I don't think this exists yet, though people have tried. I'm going to call it a magic cross-calendar platform scheduler, because if you're trying to schedule meetings across companies with more than 2 or 3 people, it just becomes inefficient really quickly with the back and forth on the emails. I know there's technology that can at least show when I'm available to present to the other people I want to invite to a meeting. But there's always seems to be a little bit of, oh, I can't make those days. Well, what about those days? And if somehow we can just forget about, if you're on Outlook and I'm on Google Calendar and I'm on Apple Calendar, but somehow just, can I just look once and see everybody's visibility and pick the times where everybody's truly not blocked on their calendar? Regardless of what calendar tool you are on. Can you imagine how that would reduce a lot of emails in my inbox, since I have a lot of meetings?
So I don't know that anything like that exists to like cross-function all of those different domains, or cross-seed all those different domains.
Right.
We use Cirrus, and
Yes.
Salesforce Inbox has the same or similar functionality, where it'll allow you to say to a customer or somebody you want to chat with, these are all the times I'm free, pick one, and then if they can't see, then they can pick another. But yeah, the ability to add their calendar availability on top of that, like show availability, that would be very nice. So yeah, maybe you know what, there's probably like brilliant minds working on it, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be worth a lot of money when somebody eventually brings that out.
Exactly.
So, okay, Shannon, what did you come up with as your dream app, or any app that you could have free or paid from the AppExchange?
So you know how you have something and you don't know how great it is until it's gone?
Uh-oh.
I would love to reach back into my old org and grab the utility we built, and it's an app in Salesforce we built. It allows power users to submit like requests for the Salesforce team, and then it was connected so we could do our road mapping and schedule them out for different releases. And then as we were completing tickets, we would link it to Knowledge, to the articles where we kept all of our documentation. So it was really nice in a large global org to have that, and I miss it a ton. So I wish it was an app on the AppExchange and I could just go grab it and stock it in my new environment.
Well, what are you doing this weekend? That sounds like a perfect little project.
Yeah, when on my spare time, right?
Your spare time. It might take a little bit more than a weekend, but yeah, that would be
wait for my non-compete up. My non-compete period has to be up. I have another year yet.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, maybe Dreamforce next year, 2020. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to hand back over to Amanda. Amanda's going to talk a little bit about reminding people how to build a stack and sharing that link with us. So thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Liz. Liz, Salesforce for Dummies. Shannon, thank you for representing the nonprofit arena today. Really appreciate your time. And Amanda, back over to you.
Yes, thank you. That was a great session. We learned so much, and there are definitely a few people out there that want your signature, Liz, on their book. So that was great. So if you would like to be featured in a future webinar here, go to allinthestack.com, build your app stack and tweet it. It's all easy to do right in the tool, and you could be featured on the next webinar. Speaking of, the next webinar is September 5th, just a few weeks before Dreamforce. We're actually going to take October off because the first week of October is right after Dreamforce, but we'll be back in November and then again in December. And each time we have 2 customers talking with Geraldine about their app stacks, and so we hope you will join us and maybe even be a speaker on a future one as well. Thank you all for joining today. This will be available on our YouTube channel on AppExchange within 24 hours. So you could check it out and share it, and make sure to follow AppExchange on Twitter. You could see it there too. Thank you all. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Amanda.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.